The story begins with a young man who has a vivid nightmare, where he remembers that he collapsed on his 5th birthday. The scene then changes to an older man, all bloody, falling to the ground, suggesting a traumatic event from the past, while the nightmare is firm, surrounded by several women. As the dream continues, this young man is in a fierce battle against these women, with the swords clashing above him, and the scene focuses on his blood-stained hand, indicating a violent ending. He realizes that this scene is from the world of a game he knows very well. During this nightmare, he remembers that it is Luke, the villain who tragically dies in this very scene. Waking up terrified and sweating in bed, young Luke, as a child, struggles with the reality that he is the hated antagonist of the game. Remember that the protagonist of the game, the Emperor of the Sword, intends to become him the strongest swordsman, enjoying life in the gym. And her journey involves falling in love and training with her peers to get stronger before defeating the family evil of a duke plotting a coup. Luke, identified as the second son of this duke, was known in the game by the terrible nickname of the Fat and Nasty Frog, given by those who made his horrible look and rotten personality. Why did he manipulate the protagonist and the allies as a tyrant hiding behind the authority of the family, who could not control himself? Then he remembers the tragic story that explained his horrible personality. His mother died soon after he was born. No one in the family cared about him, which made him quit training, develop the inferiority complex, and do bad things to try to get family recognition. Despite having a talent for baby magic, she has never been at all. And he turned out to be a sacrificial pawn of Duke, with no purpose beyond being killed in the game. Faced with this dark reality, Luke, as a child, wonders if the fat, disgusting frog really changes in 10 years. The age of his and the protagonist when the game starts does not want to die at all and decides that if he can avoid turning this horrible person, and does not do evil, he can change his future, mainly because he has memories of the past life, and does not need the love or approval of the family. At first, Luke thinks optimistically that because he is noble, he doesn't have to worry about earning money, and he could lead a quiet and happy life. But she soon remembers the evil nature of the family and the fate of being purged, which means he won't escape if he doesn't become strong enough to defend himself. Remember that in the game, he supposedly had a talent for magic. Curious? Ask yourself how to use magic without a user interface. Try to feel mana, and if that energy was like the soul is really sister. Try to cast a spell that says healing. It repeats itself like a mantra, and feels like it gets a little better, even without a health bar to confirm. He continues to practice the healing of the mantra until we pass out. The next morning, her exclusive maid, Sirap, a 12-year-old canine, wakes up wondering how she's feeling. Luke is a little soft, but not sicker. He realizes that the man must have finished, thinking that he can use 10 cures still. He concludes that you should study magic to understand better. I am sorry that you would like a tutor. But he knows that his father was never going to get one, so he can only learn by himself. When he asks Sirap to read a difficult book called The Foundation of Magic, she suggests a figure book, but Luke insists that he wants to learn magic, and Sirap, interpreted by the sincere request, she agrees to teach reading and mathematics, saying that he can count on her. Shrap then encourages and suggests starting the training. To say that the pants are reminute the position in office, but Luke, despite his enthusiasm, politely refuses. Then Shrap starts teaching by reading the complicated book aloud, being impressed by his ability to understand long and complex words. Luke confirms that he's doing well, and Sirap wonders if he's really being helpful. Over time, Luke understands that mana is a transparent energy floating in the air, and the amount and power of spells depend on one's talent. Confirming his magical talent, he realizes that he can use healing simply by imagining the mana healing him. It throws the idea that casting magic is imagining the spell and letting the mana flow wherever it wants. Learn that magic is basically divided into attribute-less magic, which is basic and transformable, and attribute magic, which most noble Susan. But it requires special talent. Think about whether you will not be able to use attribute magic due to family lineage. Over time, Sirap takes good care of Luke, packs up his bed and covers him, promising to protect him. A year later, Luke remembers the initial difficulties of practicing mana, fainting several times from exhaustion, but notes that his total mana capacity has increased with the daily practice of spending everything. He is devoted to studies and reading, always trying to avoid the marked fate, like a fat and unpleasant frog. but he still complains about the lack of a magic tutor in the small wing where he lives. Observing your appearance in the game, he realizes that all future health problems such as acne, blemishes, warts, cracked skin and obesity, and decides to prioritize health care, starting with washing the face. He is impressed that people in this world do not bathe and wash their face every day, finding the blisters on the hand as a miracle. Sirap, surprised by Luke's sensitive skin history, agrees to learn the new skincare routine. They start a daily routine, twice a day, with soap, facial lotion, moisturizing body sunscreen, while Luke dreams of being rich to buy designer products. On the health journey, the syrup helps Luke to take a shower, ensuring that his skin will be smooth in a year if he continues. And it will become beautiful. Luke, however, finds it difficult to get used to the different bathing practices in this world. Now that he looks much better, Luke reflects that he once felt unwell after eating. What made the diet changed from the very beginning? Cooking dishes from the previous world, realizing that the food here may not match it. And health has greatly improved since you started cooking for yourself. He also created a new daily routine, waking up early and sunbathing in the forest near the wing where he lives. Stopping sleeping late every morning. She started walking and doing light exercises, with Shrap encouraging her new outdoor activity. Although Shrap suggests heavier training, Luke firmly refuses, saying that he really does not like to exercise and prefers to move as little as possible, even wanting a healthy and quiet life. Sirap warns that he will become a drug if he only eats and sleeps. But Luke, looking at the picture of his future as a fat and unpleasant frog, believes that he has the potential to be beautiful, and finds it difficult to imagine becoming such a Fred while she's taking a shower. He thinks that living quietly also leaves some spare time left over, and it reflects that too much leisure, such as going every day to the amusement park or the casino, soon becomes boring. Since leisure is only great if it is not conscious, he understands that, despite being born noble, he does not have a protective net, since his father's treatment indicates that he will be sacrificed and let die sooner or later. Unlike Luke of the game, who misused his privilege and was mean, he thinks about the future, including the plan to have a supportive wife and the need to get some money to live without worrying, even if not Casey, in order to avoid unnecessary suffering for privileged childhood. Keep in mind that the game has two main arcs. The War arc, which focuses on solving incidents caused by villains, and the Gym arc, that focuses on romance and character training. He knows that mastering both is the way to get along in life. He also realizes that not going to the Royal Academy of Alessa would greatly increase the chances of survival, given that the aspect of the game appears mainly in the Gym arc. However, even with the greatest chance of survival, he has a strong reason to go. It is where you will find all the beloved characters of the game, which you really love. In the end, Luke states that he wants to be happy and enjoy this world as his new self, Luke. When Serepi insists on suggesting fencing training for him to protect himself, Luke, thinking he loves fencing, asks if he really needs to learn when he can fight him. Sirap, a little surprised, agrees, and Luke says he's leaving the sword fight with her. The next morning, even rejecting Sirap's exercises, Luke recognizes that he needs to move to be healthy and creates a new spell. This spell creates a paste-like creature named Val, a magical creation of original attribute, made to work while Luke sleeps. He explains that all magic without an attribute depends on spinning mana, and it shows how Veil is easy to use by asking you to fetch water from it. The real test comes when she tells Bal to wrap her body while she sleeps and exercises, then she trains effortlessly. Sirapi is open, thinking that this makes it easier for him. And Luke, awake, he agrees, impressed by Bal's ability to move on his own. Luke is happy, realizing that now he can train well and support his life on his own. Even feeling muscle pain the next day, everything is working fine. And even growing up and training, he feels very hungry, always with a lot to do. When Sirap brings a dessert, Luke enjoys it. In conclusion, that his ultimate goal is just to live the life of a noble and a lazy villain, acknowledging that it's not great either. 5 years later, Luke, 11, is concentrating on reading a book, while Sirap, now 17, is next door. Luke, still reading, notices that Sirap is feeling uncomfortable and asks what happened. Sirap is surprised because Luke is floating and wants to know how he is doing. Luke realizes that using mana to support the air is no different than holding a glass. But he thinks that explaining all this magic to Sirap, who understands little about the subject, would be very difficult. He offers a trip to Sirap, which he accepts encouraged. Feeling super comfortable, while using mana to support her, ensuring that she doesn't need to be afraid. Serapi is impressed by how comfortable Luke's magic is, and he asks about his well-brought body, since he only saw him walking, and is confused by his physical condition, which is always reading or sleeping. Luke explains that he absorbs Baal, his self-sufficient magic, into the body, and transfers memories directly from the brain to him. He then reveals a new spell he invented, called Trace, which allows Val to perfectly recreate and imitate the moves from his favorite fighting games, martial arts and manga masters. Even if Luke forgot the exact moves, all this knowledge came together in a personal fighting style, which he shows with a powerful sequence of martial movements, leaving Serapi's mouth open, saying that he looked like a master, and that even martial artists don't move like that. Luke does not feel tired. He says that he is not even aware of the movements, but still trains the body, gains muscle memory, which he finds all very practical. Sirap, very impressed, calls him a genius, but Luke humbly rejects the compliment, knowing that she does not understand the mysterious abyss that is magic. Later, tired from training, Luke asks Sirap to separate a change of clothes, while he decides to take a quick shower at a spring in the forest, the nearest water source, and she agrees to follow. He reflects that his knowledge of the magic of the past life is so deep that even he himself does not understand. Everything's fine. At the fountain, Luke remembers that the servants always comment since Sirap was beautiful. He realizes that she followed the beauty routine he taught 5 years ago, becoming even more beautiful. And he also continued to train with fencing, sharpening his firm stance. Luke thinks that seeing the cute and affectionate side of Sirap is his own privilege, as he acts like a faithful dog, all happy just hearing his name. Then he gives Sirap a new task, finds out what his magic attribute is, and telling his father. He explains that attribute magic, which allows us to use a power one is born with, is known locally as the determinate power of God. Luke says there are people who have no attribute, but he's not worried, since this is a noble privilege, and the ministry of magic of Alessias, where the greatest magicians gather, will evaluate its attribute. He's anxious to find out what it is. The next day, Mausa Glico, head of the attribute sector of the Ministry of Magic, arrives to make the unkind assessment, mistaking Luke for a young woman due to his refined appearance. He is surprised by his incredible memory, which resembles the full title only after listening once. Luke, already waiting for Mausa's reaction. She thought he was going to scold to be up, but to her surprise he praises her. Mausa asks to call the young teacher of the Toas family, and Luke is formally introduced as Luke the Rooster of the Samato Astos, pointing out his initial rudeness. Luke thinks about the doctrine of the state church that values only the civil man, despising demi-humans, Vismen, spiritual races and demons, but thinks that Mausa is not a bad person. He holds out his hand, introduces himself as Luke, and asks her to call him by his first name, and she accepts, squeezing his hand. Mausa asks Luke to close his eyes, and begins to check his magical attribute. Luke, half nervous, do as you ask. Mouse announces that his attributes are sleep and laziness, which Luke understands in time, feeling that he realized something he always knew. To find amazing, it is hardly explained that these attributes are classified as rare magic, unique within attribute magic, and that while attribute magic is usually public, rare magic is secret. He also says that his attribute will be recorded as magic influencing the human body, and asks if everything is okay. Luke agrees. It is hardly explained that although everyone has spells more appropriate for their attribute, the skills can be improved by studying the attributes. What Luke has already understood, as he already has simple ideas on how to use his. Mausa confirms that researching is the only way to master magic, and Luke says that he will remember and start training. Mausa is surprised by Luke's quick understanding, and asks how he knows about evaluation magic, just a few secrets. Luke, realizing that he slipped with the secret, quickly replies that, as a reincarnated, he thought it was common, and asks if it was not obvious only for the assessment. Mausa gets uncomfortable, apologizes, and demands Sirap to bring tea. At tea time, Luke offers his herbal tea that he grows himself, saying that it is good for the body, and cleanses his mind, personally recommending. Mausa praises the tea, and asks the name, and Luke says he doesn't mind sharing the leaves if he likes them. Malsa asks if the secret of the evaluation magic should be kept, and Luke confirms. Malsa asks about the flying cushion spell she saw earlier, impressed with the news, but Luke assures that it's not much. Later, Luke asks if Malsa could be his tutor. Thanking for the valuable time you gave. Malsa says she thinks she doesn't even need a tutor, asking exactly what she wants to learn. Luke explains that he just wants to exchange letters with her, asking her to answer any questions he sends in writing. About magic that he doesn't understand, Malsa finds it interesting and happily agrees to exchange letters. Thanks to Malsa, Luca acquires a great knowledge about magic and now has a personal tutor. He learns that unlike attribute-less magic, where mana can be transformed freely, the magic attribute follows specific rules depending on the attribute. The evaluation made him realize his inherent magic, which are the basic spells of the attribute. For example, the fire attribute has a pilot to light the flame, the fireball to concentrate and solidify the mana, and the fire arrow to shoot solidified mana, and the rest depends on knowledge and practice. Luke also learns that his dream attribute has 3 inherent spells. Sleep, which can cause the target to sleep, with effects varying depending on the mana used, and the target's stamina. Sleep timer, which defines the sleep time by touch, and sleep cancellation, which removes any magic from sleep. He understands that if people do not know his attributes, he can sleep before understanding what is happening. Especially combining sleep with the lazy attribute, which leaves the multiness completely disoriented. But he also knows that magic can be defended by magic resistance and defensive spells. Luke then thinks about the possibilities, such as sleeping with arrow to sleep from afar. Admiring how amazing and almost unfair his attributes are. Imagine putting teachers to sleep to miss class, and realizing that there is an endless variety of spells to try. So much so that all the time in the world would be enough to test everyone. He starts the day by handing over the control of the probal body, his magical creation, to exercise. What he cleans up makes him focused on experimenting with magic. Then he'll have coffee, and Syrup asks him if he wants food. Accept excitedly. Although Syrup is great in everything he makes, and prepares perfectly edible meals, Luke feels that care is lacking in the dishes. He compares himself to the foods he prefers to cook alone, using the memories of the past life. A task that he and Syrup now take turns to do. Already 11, Luke realizes that the worries only increase over the years. While I wash it to the cooks of its time and Syrup, and decide to postpone it to treat it later. Later, near a natural source that is the nearest water, Luke takes a bath, and listens to the nearby voices. Realizing that he is not alone. A girl, distraught and almost dying, screams that she will die alone. Thought the records at that moment when she realizes that the place is usually empty and wonders if she is just a lost girl, asking who she is. Suddenly, a monstrous and dark hand grabs the girl, scaring Luke, who realizes that there are other people there. The girl, who is invited by one of Luke's older sister Iris' tea parties, is very embarrassed to see Luke peeling, blushing a lot. While Luke recognizes her as someone that Iris invited to expand her social circle. Although he totally forgot the event of that day, Luke introduces himself as Luke the Equal Gaul. And the girl, recognizing the connection with Iris, formally introduces herself as Karen's Caribbean, daughter of Count Caribbean, which Luke finds amusing for his formal manner at that time, and calls her Karenbin. Luke discovers that Karen can use attribute-free magic, and asks her to show he does excited, revealing his love for magic. Before showing magic, Luke notices that Karen has no clothes yet, and politely asks her to see him first, suggesting that he will show her soon after, although he is curious about her ability. Karen, already dressed, performs her attribute magic, calling a big magic bag that can hold a lot of things, leaving Luke impressed. Karen then shows off her culinary magic. Quickly chop vegetables and stir in a pan, producing a spicy moon rabbit soup that looks delicious, which Luke offers made only with ingredients they had on hand. Luke demonstrates the soup. The aroma is already tempting, and he exclaims that it is an absurd delight. He says that he never proved anything so good, even in the past life, to Karen's surprise. He realizes that the soup is not only delicious, but gives him an amateur, which makes him feel a power growing inside. This makes Luke see Karen as a valuable asset for the lazy life he wants to take, as she is a noble girl, who can cook dishes given to her by an amateur. a quality that will not leave. He soon asks if Karen will cook this soup every day when they grow up. Without hesitation, Luke proposes to Karen, saying that he had a happy home with his family, justifying that she will support him even if the family deduces from him is crushed. And most importantly, he needs his delicious cuisine. Karen is surprised by the sudden proposal, making that day a miraculous reunion for Luke. To make the request work, Luke soon talks to his father, who responds indifferently, does whatever he wants. Everything goes fast, and soon combines a family reunion at the Count Caribia restaurant. At the restaurant, Luke meets Count Caribia and points out that his father did not appear at such an important marriage meeting. The Caribbean, however, guarantees that it is not a problem, explaining that Luke's father only took one fast and left, which Luke says he does not mind, suspecting that his father's intimidating manner was too much for Karen. As the second son, Luke makes it clear that he only has to offer and asks marrying into the Caribbean family would be acceptable. Count Caribbean, with a wide smile, enthusiastically declares that his family would welcome Luke with open arms, adding that Karen has already confessed that she likes him, leaving Karen dying of shame. Luke thinks about the decision, remembering that he heard that it was Karen who proposed to himself, and that some girls make her look. But he finds his round face for Linda. He also realizes that Sister Iris treats everyone badly, except the beautiful favorites. And it is she who talks about Karen's appearance. Luke reinforces that what really attracted him to Karen was the kitchen and the state of her, not just the personality, and thanked her for choosing him for the inner beauty. Count Caribbean proudly explains that his family started as fishermen and merchants, but now plays several businesses at sea. He points out that Luke is sensitive and asks if he will take it, since everyone in the family, including him, spends a lot of time at sea. Lucas guarantees that he is protected from the sun, and that he is more resistant than he looks due to training. Imagine how practical it would be to have Val to carry luggage on boats, and he can only sleep during the trip. Count Caribbean trusts his daughter to Luke, wishing him luck before you leave. Then Karen says that she wants to look pretty to be on Luke's side, explaining that she heard him worry about appearance and health from an early age. Luke confirms this, saying that she is cute enough for a boy already. But he insists that she is very beautiful. Karen asks if Luke can help her look prettier, and he replies yes, using a very easy method. Luke proposes to combine the sleep attribute with Val so that she sleeps while Val enters her body and makes a series of movements, helping to lose weight effortlessly. He points out that losing weight is not the only purpose, and explains the method to Karen in a private room, that its attributes are sleep and laziness, which allow exercising while sleeping. Luke demonstrates on himself, setting a 1-minute sleep timer for a light workout. When you wake up, Karen is impressed, saying that she moved as a martial artist. Luke confirms that he doesn't remember the training, and makes sure that he just needs to let Val into his body. Even admitting that he is bad at exercise, Karen finds herself experimenting lively. An hour later, after the light workout, Karen is exhausted, realizing that she can be strong, but he is bad at exercise. Luke advises her to do basic exercises to gain endurance, offering healing magic for muscle pain and guidance in beauty routine, starting with the japio of the face carefully, explaining that the soap will absorb the dirt. Karen, curious and quick to learn, follows the routine that includes proper rinsing, makeup, and nutrition. Luke highlights the importance of the right nutrients to build a beautiful body and praises his culinary skill, suggesting that he can make hot diet foods with the right ingredients. From then on, Karen is addicted to creating new diet dishes based on the ideas of Luke in Japanese cuisine, such as moko supinata hamburger. Put everything into practice quickly. Although Luke sometimes thinks she makes too much food, he suggests donating the excess to orphanages, as it is unhealthy to overdo it even on good food. Karen, happy with the idea of researching cooking and helping others, you think it's perfect and distribute the dishes in several orphanages every day. However, Hollick worries about the precarious conditions of these orphanages and the fact that many orphans do not know how to use magic to clean up. One day, Karen desperately runs to Luke for help to a boy who has fainted, as the church-run orphanage does not provide assistance or magic cure. Luke notices that the boy is breathing shallowly, suspected of pneumonia. Although he does not like the church, he agrees to check on the boy, saying that he will use magic healing as training, and that he does not need to pay. After all, he is Dick's son. Karen is very grateful, And Sirap, seeing the fortune spent by the Duke, suggests using part of it to improve the orphanage. Luke, finding the idea too laborious, agrees to donate 50 gold coins. Realizing that orphanages are excellent for testing healing in various cases, such as poison, diseases, monsters, and finding the experience very interesting, Luke, now 14, reflects on the last 3 years. She has enjoyed Karen's boyfriend, and her lazy ideal life has gradually improved. Sirap takes care of most of your needs. Karen cooks every day, and continues to use Spal to maintain health and appearance. Luke also experienced many new things thanks to Karen. But you know these quiet days are ending. Because he'll be entering the gym in the spring and living in the dorms. He wants to enjoy as much as possible from the moment he has left. When she realizes that she is late for the meeting, she imagines the reason, and decides to go after her personally. While walking to the main house, he passes his older brother for 19 years. He has the cock's deception. Lucas realizes that he is stronger than him now, but his brother completely ignores him, as always. A fact that doesn't even bother Luke. Ignoring the meeting, Luke continues looking for Karen, sure that he will find her. Soon he thinks, seeing that the diet went super well, turning Karen into a much-admired beauty. Praised for both appearance and femininity. He finds her at a tea party organized by her older sister, Iris, the rooster of Z-Totos. Luke comes over and asks Iris to take Karen for a moment. But Iris gets angry, asking if he will ruin her party, when Karen came to visit her. Luke thinks internally about the strange charm of his sister, what makes every man who looks into his eyes want to resort to his toy. But he realizes that this does not work with him and finds Karen much more attractive. He tells his sister not to be unfair, explaining that since he doesn't go to the gym until next year, she will have plenty of time to talk to Karen there. And ask to leave them alone for now. Karen is uncomfortable, but inside she is happy, thinking that two beauties are disputing her. Luke sees a moody Iris and says that she is spoiling the beauty with this scary expression. To soften, he praises his sister, saying that only she has beauty that comes close to his and that he loves her. Which seems to calm her down. With some points earned with your sister, he soon takes Karen and leaves. Months later, after Karen once went to the gym, Luke decides to do a rare tour with Sirap. Sirap comments that this is weird, joking that it may start to rain. Luke reflects that he hardly ever leaves because merchants often come to him. And they have no friends to visit, except his friend from Mala. He tells Sirap to accompany. And she stumbles. Sirap, who drives the carriage, wears a cape to hide his ears and tail while traveling. Luke already misses Karen, remembering how she took them to various places. They soon reach the destination. The big store, Monday, a big department that also appeared in the game Luke remembers. The store sells everything from items and equipment to gifts, love interests. Inside, they are greeted and taken to a VIP room where the owner, Morsky Motto, is waiting. Morsky recognizes Luke as the son of the Duke and introduces his daughter, 14-year-old Akari Motto. Luke already identifies Akari as one of the main suitors of the gaming market and is happy to see her. Before starting at the gym, he also likes to see Carrie being polite with Sirap, who is a Bisma. Carrie asks what they want. Illik asks her to show the recommendations to the beauty routine, or anything useful for Carrie Smale, and excitedly accepts. Starting to show a magic hair dryer, while talking lightly and funny. After almost buying everything he showed, Luke asks Sirap if she wants anything. Sirap replies that since they almost never go shopping together, I would like a gift. To Carrie he gives a beautiful red necklace and Sirap is delighted in time. Even Sirap, who says he's just a servant. Luke decides to shop for her, saying it's a thank you for taking care of him. He gives the gift and she puts it around his neck. Both Carrie and Luke agree that the necklace was great for her and enhances her beautiful white hair. Luke is happy that Sirap liked the gift. When they leave the store, Akari wants them to always come back. And Luke thinks that doing these things from time to time is not a bad idea. Decide that before going to the gym next year, you need to get to know the world more. And, more importantly, he decides that he has to face why his character in the game turned into a fat and nasty frog. Before leaving the house. Task he finds boring, but he knows what you have to do. Luke begins to deeply question the origins of his original self. He finds it hard to believe that the character who started out so neat has changed so much. If you ask if you just have a hedonistic life, it was enough to cause this transformation. You have already checked the possibilities such as allergies or weak health and found no answers. He also thought that the food in this world might not match it, but the ingredients look the same. Thinking about the food and ingredients makes him think that girlfriend Karen may have more information. He asks for his opinion, which reviews a list of the properties he described. She concludes that ingredients with these properties are almost all toxins used as medicines, but that can alter the body or even kill if misused. This revelation convinces Luke that the strange change in his appearance may have been caused by the poisoning, and he thinks that this rite is worth investigating. Then he asks Sirap about his childhood. Sirap remembers that until he was 4 years old, he was a very cute boy that ate and slept a lot. She never realized that anything wrong physically, except when she talked once. She had a sensitive skin, Sirap continues, remembering that Luke suddenly fainted during the birthday dinner, which caused the maids to panic. She explains that, for about a year after this episode, her health was unstable. And Luke connects this to the period when he was without mana and passed out straight. The condition only improved when he turned 6. Luke asks who prepared the food at that time. Sirat says that he had a boss, but he was forced to retire soon after that fatal dinner, and that he took over the kitchen. Was the head of the servants. As the pieces fall into place, Luke realizes that it was the head of the servants who put poison in his food. With the answer clear in his head, Luke will confront the boss. Thank you for your work with the food. But he says that unfortunately, the food never seemed to be good for him. Luke explains that he had been thinking about the reason why his original turned into a fat, disgusting frog, concluding that this could not have been natural and that someone should poison him. Luck uses magic to intimidate the frightened boss, and he asks her directly if he was the one who poisoned the food. The boss confesses on the spot, saying that it was an order from the head of the family, that is, Luke's own father. While the boss asks for forgiveness, Luke is surprised by the quick confession. He thinks that no one cared so much about doing the dirty work personally, that no one knew he could use it. Healing magic to neutralize the poison all the time. Imagine it must have been hard for them when you refused to die and only got healthier. Luke finds his boss's answer, thinking it would have been more interesting if he had resisted and sought revenge. He decides to forgive, but only after giving a small punishment. He says he won't kill, but will use him as a guinea pig for magical experiments. Then Luke throws the magic of laziness at the boss, observing the curious thing that happens when using this spell on a person. After the spell, Luke talks to the now overpowered boss, who can get back to work. It is now more than clear to Luke that his real enemy is the Duke of Edda. When he returns to the room, the syrup asks where he went. Luke thinks his dad probably wouldn't even care if he fired the boss, and that doing so would only piss his dad off even more. He decides not to kill his father's pedestrians, but only to disable them, leaving them powerless, more alive. Later, Luke asks Syrup if she would be happy if he went to the gym. She says she always thought he was coming, and would be happy to be on her side if he could. Luke explains that not going was a real possibility. Because I had a good chance of getting killed in the gym, and I thought I'd stay with her. But now that she knows the house itself isn't safe, she feels she has no choice but to move on to protect her loose life. Formulate a new plan to help the protagonists of the Shadow Game, preparing the ground for them to crush his father, leader of the nobles. He recognizes that it is the easiest and most likely to survive. But it's a difficult role for a reincarnate. However, his love for the game world has not changed, and he refuses to sit still waiting to die. Deciding to accept his role as Luke. A year later, Luke arrives at the Laziest Royal Academy Proving Ground. The exam has 3 tests: magic, practical skills, and theory tests. He knows that those who do well can win bags, regardless of who they are. But he plans not to work too hard so as not to attract attention. During the practical test, there were students who talked about Avisma. He looks and sees a girl with green hair and emerald green eyes that he recognizes the adventurer Ruby, one of the heroines of the game. Ruby defeats the opponent, showing the physical strength of the bees mixed with unconventional techniques. The examiner calls the next name, Luke, the toast rooster. They ask about his magic, and he says he has no element. What you think boring, when the practical test starts, gives up soon. When the next one is called, Rubia has been singing while he left. Luke is not worried. He thinks that he will meet her again at school. The next day, he receives the acceptance letter. He didn't need to worry about failing, as he knew that his character had excellent grades and results. With larabation guaranteed, the simulation of the adult novel arc finally begins.